Hello, my name is Barry Goggans. For the next 15 minutes, I will be talking to you about the keys to becoming a real estate investor. The keys to becoming a real estate investor. First and foremost, again, my name is Barry Goggans. I'm the owner of Free Investments Incorporated, a real estate investment company that I launched 7 years ago. And that business has proved to be very, very prosperous and lucrative in my own personal life. And I want to share some tips with some new investors on how you can also become an effective, productive real estate investor and make a lot of money in the meantime. But first and foremost, let me begin by explaining to you how I got started with real estate investing. Well, again, I told you, my company's been 7 years old. So prior to starting my company, I worked as a loan officer with a couple of companies. Ameriquest Financial, I was one of their top producers. And then I worked with JP Chase. I was one of their producers, one of their top producers as well. And while I was working in the mortgage business, during a time when the refinance boom was in full effect, and we had a lot of business going on, I met a real estate investor who came to me to try to find a loan program that would be, effective for him buying real estate properties for rental. So while we talked about that, he mentioned to me that if I knew anybody who had great credit, was looking to maybe invest in real estate, that if I would refer those people over to him, then if they did a transaction or did any business, then he would give me a nice referral bonus. So I didn't see any problem with that. The guy seemed to be a stand-up gentleman. So I said, sure. I'll tell you what, if I have anybody that I know of who has great credit and they're interested in becoming a real estate investor, then I would definitely bring them to you and introduce you to that person, and hopefully y'all can do business. So what happened after that was that happened. I had a friend of mine who had great credit, was looking to become a real estate investor, wanted to learn more about it, and I told him I had met this gentleman who I think could teach him a lot of things about real estate, and I introduced the two guys together. Well, little to be said from that, they actually did a transaction or two. And I didn't hear much from it after the transaction was done. I'm assuming that the guy had a great experience with the transaction that went on. But maybe a month or two later, my friend called me and said, hey, this was the worst experience ever. First of all, the guy promised a whole lot, and none of it really happened. The closing experience was sporadic. I found myself, having to come back the next day because the paperwork wasn't right. He promised to close at a certain time, and it didn't happen. And so he was just, the whole process, he just thought was just nerve-wracking. And on top of that, it turned out that later, a couple months later, he realized that it was a bad transaction, that the things he promised that he would do after the purchase of the property to help him learn how to manage his property, he didn't do. And the guy, over time, ended up foreclosing on this particular property. Well, from that situation, this friend of mine, I really felt bad because I was the person who introduced him to this guy who really didn't know what he was doing. And I told him, I said, hey, let me see the papers that you signed. Let me look it over. Maybe we can find a way to figure out what did he do wrong. And if you ever want to invest again, then maybe we'll have some ideas and know how to do it better the next time. So he brought the papers over, and I took a look at it, found exactly the problems that were going on with this particular transaction. And from that, I launched and started Free Investments Incorporated, and the purpose of that business was to motivate and inspire new investors to invest in real estate for the very first time, to give them the keys and the pointers that they would need in order to feel confident about making their first transaction. So the reason for this presentation is to discuss to you the 4 relationships that are essential in order to have a productive, effective real estate transaction. And to become a good real estate investor, you need these 4 things. So sit back, relax, get ready for us to go through briefly the 4 points that you need to understand, and hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will understand exactly what it is that you would need to know in order to purchase your first real estate transaction as an investor. Okay? So let's just dive right in. First of all, out of the four keys, the four relationships that you need to have in order to be a real estate investor, the first relationship that you need is a relationship with either a real estate agent, a builder, or someone who's trying to sell their home for the first time, for sale by owner situation. The first and foremost thing, in order to find the right properties and find the right opportunities, you have to be in touch with the people who are out there every day finding those opportunities. So real estate agents are the most effective and essential part of becoming a real good real estate investor. You want to talk to those guys and find out what their opinion are on certain areas and neighborhoods that you're not familiar with. You want to get some ideas of the spots that are considered to be the hot spots. Hot spots in real estate term is primarily the places where it's a concentration of good properties, or properties where people are starting to influx to and buy homes at. You want to have your property there. It's a great place to have your first investment property, great place to have a rental property. So that's the hot spot, is where you want to find out. And real estate agents will have the best idea of where that would be. That's number one. Number two, you also want to develop a relationship with builders. A lot of times, you can tell by the subdivision. If you're in a new subdivision, there's 4 or 5 different builders in that subdivision. That'll give you an idea that this area could be a hot area. The builders have already identified that there's going to be some growth in this area, and they're going to want to be the first ones over here putting new homes up. Now, when you talk to those builders, you can talk to them and get some idea about what they think are the price points and what they think the neighborhood is doing. So if you can talk to a builder, or talk to a realtor, or talk to someone there who's trying to sell their home in those areas, and simply let them know that you're a real estate investor, you buy properties, and you're looking to buy a number of properties, and you're trying to get some idea of this area. Can you help me out? Something that simple will get them to open up to you and begin to explain to you what you need to know in order to be an effective real estate investor. Realtors, builders, and individuals who are selling their own home, they're always looking for that person who is qualified to buy a property. So when you come to them and you let them know, I'm pre-qualified, I'm ready to buy, and these are some things I'm looking for, they'll be more than happy to be there to help you out with that kind of information. So first and foremost, the first key relationship to becoming a real estate investor is to develop a relationship with the realtors, builders, or real estate owned, which is REO, which is someone who's trying to sell their own properties. That is the first relationship that you want to have. Second relationship that you want to have in order to be a real estate investor, the key to is to have a relationship with a mortgage company. Simply a loan officer. If you looking to purchase real estate, then you want to already have your financing in place. So in order to have your financing in place, you need to have a relationship with a lender. So you need to find a loan officer, whether you go to a bank and ask to speak to a mortgage loan officer and tell them that you're looking to qualify to buy some property, and then maybe let them look over your situation and see if you qualify and get you pre-approved. And in the midst of doing so, then you may need to ask them, do they know any other investors, or do they do deals for investors, or have they ever did an investment property before, or have they ever worked with an investor before? Those questions are important, because the key really is you want to find someone, a loan officer, who's worked in the past with a real estate investor. If he has or she has worked with a real estate investor in the past, then that'll give you one advantage, because that person understands what it would take, what programs are essential for that real estate investor in order to close this particular loan. The loan part of becoming a real estate investor is probably, in my opinion, the most important piece, because you want to make sure that you pick the right program for your particular property. You want to make sure that the program, the loan program that they designed or picked for you for this particular property that you're about to buy, is a loan program that will maximize benefits for you. Interest rates are concerned, the amount of money that you're putting down for this particular property, and that the program that they're putting you in best suits a person who's looking to become an investor. So that's important. And you want that loan officer to understand some of the needs and some of the questions and some of the demands, some of the things that you're looking to try to accomplish with this particular property. Most of the time, because you're buying this property and you're looking to rent it out later, then you're going to be really interest rate driven, and you're going to be really term driven as far as the length of the time of the loan, and also the interest rate of that particular program. Also, what's going to be important to you is the down payment that you will have to bring when you're ready to purchase this property. All those factors are important. And the loan officer that you're talking to and dealing with, his perspective on it and his way of being able to find you the best program for what you're looking for is going to be extremely important. So keep that in mind. The third key that you want to keep in mind in order to establish the best relationship as a real estate investor is an appraiser. A real estate appraiser. Okay? A real estate appraiser, he is important because he has an idea of what is in the neighborhood, what properties are going for, what they're appraising for currently. He also would know, because most real estate appraisers, they have relationships with the realtors and also relationships with the lenders. He also can probably tell you what areas are the hot areas. He's got a book of business in certain areas he's going to do appraisals at per week, and if all of them kind of concentrated in one area, then that'll give him an idea that, okay, everyone's kind of buying at this part of time. That's important to ask that question. He may know, just based on the workload that he has for the lenders and for the realtors that he's working for. On top of that, what a real estate appraiser will be able to help you with is that you can ask him, hey, what areas of town that you think are going to be the next boom, or what areas of town you feel like that are appreciating the fastest, or what area of town that you feel like are the best place I can think about buying. When I do get ready to buy properties, I'm going to have an appraiser to come out and appraise the property independently so I can get some idea what the value may be. So I'm going to really need your services. Not to mention, I have a lot of lender friends, I have a lot of realtor friends, and with those friends, I can refer to you, and that you can now increase your book of business as a real estate appraiser, and we can both scratch each other's back. These pointers are very important because as a real estate investor, this appraiser will find that his relationship with you will become very beneficial. So you guys would probably team together. He will be able to occasionally give you some pointers, and you'll find that relationship will be very important. The number four relationship, the fourth relationship that's key in order to be a real estate investor, this relationship is a title company. A title company. Again, a title company is very, very important. A title company is maybe one of the most important aspects outside of the mortgage company that you would need to have in order to become an effective real estate investor. There's some few tips I would give you about a title company. First of all, a title company is where you go to actually close your transaction. Why a title company is so important is because that person who's closing your transaction needs to be familiar with doing an investment property or an investment transaction. So when you get to the table and you get ready to purchase this property from either the individual who wants to sell their home or from a builder or from whomever, then it's very important that that title company can make you feel comfortable, can make the seller feel comfortable, can make the buyer feel comfortable, so that the transaction can go a lot smoother. It's important. It's a very tense situation whenever you're signing off on a deal. And parties are nervous. Parties are trying to understand the intricacies of what's going on with the transaction. So it's really important that you have someone who's knowledgeable, who's closing your transaction, someone who can help you understand exactly what's going on. So selecting a title company is very important. And the investors normally that you have met in the course of finding the property can point you to a title company that they like to use. The mortgage company has title companies that they prefer. The appraiser has title companies that he prefers, and the realtors definitely have title companies that they prefer. Once you find your title company, there's some things that you definitely want to look out for. With the title company can be a source of additional business. Okay? How can it be a source of additional business? Let me explain to you. First of all, for the title company, you go there to close transactions, okay? Remember that. You're there to close transactions. So while you're there to close transactions, there's other investors that come there as well to close transactions. So your question would be to that person who's closing the transaction would be, okay, do you know of any other investors that you prefer or that you do business with? Since you work with investors, that means you must have a book of business of people who close it all the time who feel comfortable working with you. Can you introduce me to that person? Now, what happens with that situation? You found another investor who closes, someone who's not just saying that he has property or know where to find property at, but someone that's proven that he closes because you met him through the title lady, which means, or the title gentleman, which means that that person comes there regularly and he is making transactions. So that makes this investor a seasoned investor. So now you found a mentor, you found someone who can point you to other transactions. You can also find someone who can help find you a real estate transaction that you may be looking to buy. And they'll be motivated to meet you because now they know you're a qualified buyer, that you're looking to buy real estate, and an investor is always trying to find another investor that's trying to buy or sell real estate, because we understand in this business that relationships are key and that networking is key, and that the deal that I may not find, then someone else may find. So this is an excellent way to find real estate investors is through the title company. And from that relationship, you're not just finding someone who says, I'm a real estate investor. You're actually finding someone who's proven to be a real estate investor because it comes from the title company. And the title company only deals with closers. Again, I say that, which is real important. The title company only deals with closers. So from that, you will be able to find the right relationship. And on top of that, title company can also help you with not just finding the person who can find properties for you, like the investor. You can also find a great mortgage company through a title company. You have mortgage loan officers who come there and close at a certain title company on a regular basis. So the title person has made a relationship with someone who closes a lot. And they may strictly deal with investors when they close on their loans. So you can ask the title person, hey, do you know of any great mortgage companies that I can maybe call and find out what's a good loan program? From conversations, you may develop a good mortgage relationship. And so forth and so on with an appraiser as well. The title company can become a great source for you to generate new business and for you to develop great networks and relationships. So the key to real estate, I want you to understand this, everyone, is that relationships is number one with real estate. You cannot just go find a property that has good equity in it and make that transaction turn into cash, or make that turn into a property that you're buying with a good property. It's not that easy. What you have to do is be able to have other people, there's other pieces that come along with real estate and other support operations, the mortgage company, the title company, the appraiser, the realtors, who can help you make an educated transaction about what you're doing. Not to mention, you need to have those pieces because you can find a great deal, but you have a lousy lender. And if you have a lousy lender that don't really know how to work your deal or put you in the wrong program, then your contract will expire. So you want to make sure that you focus in on those four pieces. Also, when you become a real estate investor, you want to keep the end in mind. You want to also always think about the close. So never get overly excited about originating a loan. You want to be more excited about closing the particular real estate transaction or closing the loan to that transaction. So when you find a deal and you get a contract, you got 30 days on your contract, okay, there's something to be happy about. You originated a deal. However, it means nothing at this particular point. You want to make sure that you do all the essential things to make sure this contract gets to a closing table and you actually possess the property and the land that you're looking to possess. That is your number one goal. So you have to have every one of your team members, which would be your realtor or your builder or the person who helps you find the property, whether the individual, your lender, your appraiser, and your title company. Everyone needs to be on the same page. So just keep that in mind. You want to have everyone on the same page. So if those relationships are cohesive and everyone understands their role, then once you get the right property and you identify it, then now it's just a matter of tracking the order until it is closed. Tracking it until it is closed.